Christine, when you joined the New South Wales Police, I read somewhere that I think at that time it had 8,000 men and 100 or so women in it.
That's true.
It's a fabulous stat, isn't it? Later in Victoria, as Chief Commissioner, you were very much involved in increasing the number of female police officers in that state. So how did you go about instituting change like that? I mean, what did that involve?
So I suppose just going back a bit to the New South Wales experience, I mean, so when I did join, there were 130 women and 8,000 men. My registered number in New South Wales is 173. Which means that from 1915, when women were hired, that's all there'd been. And so I learned about, pushing all the systems and all the buttons. So you've got to, first of all, have people attracted to join. You've got to then look at the systems that either they have to kind of go through or they're culled out. And then once they get there, you've got to make sure you've got supportive systems to keep them. So what happened in Victoria was obviously because I was the Chief Commissioner. It's kind of like people say, well, if you can't see it, you can't be it. Well, I was here. And so that was kind of a point of it. And then we started this process of saying, well, we'll set some targets. And people talk about targets now. This is quite a long time ago, really. And so we set a target for 25% and said, we'll work on that target and look to advertise and do lots of things. And I got taken to court by the Police Association. I'm kind of used to that, really, but anyway. And in this case, I lost. I couldn't quite believe why, I lost, but I did. And I went, well, who cares? I'm going to do it anyway. So, what could they do? Arrest me? But anyway. I'm sure they weren't going to do that. I'm sure they weren't going to do that.
Throw you in the slammer.
No chance. And so I just said, okay, we need to think about this. So we did some wonderful advertising that, had, new police officers, women with their kids. It showed women in lots of different sort of ways. So we were looking to attract women to join us as well. And then there was, heights and things. But the particular, piece of it, so we get 40% of the women applying. I go out to every graduation and I, swear people in, and I'm not seeing the women. And I went, I don't understand what's going on here. And so eventually I called in the recruiting people and said, okay, what's the story? Like, why are we not seeing women come through? They kind of said, oh, well, they're pretty smart at all the tests. I said, yeah, they usually are. They're fit enough. And they said, well, sort of. And I said, what does that mean? He said, well, they go through all the rest of those assessments and then there's a final test. And the final test is you have to do physical stuff. But one of them is to go over a wall. And I said, what wall? And he said, there's a 7-foot high wall that you have to climb over.
Is it a glass wall?
Yes, I reckon that's a really nice way to see it. And so I said, well, why do we have a wall? Like, they said, oh, well, it's very important and we've always had it. Wow. And so I said, okay, so just tell me what happens. And he started to laugh and he said, oh, the women are like lemmings. They just throw themselves at the wall and they don't get over it in the main. I said, well, we can teach people to get over a wall. And he said, no, we don't. I said, what happens next? He said, well, they go away. And I said, then what happens? He said, they don't come back. I said, great, I've got the answer. And he looked at me and said, what's the answer? I said, we're not having the wall anymore. And I said, I'm the Chief Commissioner. Nothing like being in charge.
Christine Nixon smashes the glass wall.
Yeah. So, but there's a piece that extends, and partly it's about journalism, Sam, you'll be pleased to know. So we do this, I tell him to go and take it out of the literature and send to people who failed the wall that they might join. And then I call the academy and say, get rid of the wall today. And they said, oh no, we've always had it. I then, front page of the newspaper, Chief Commissioner lowering standards. And I said, no, I didn't, it's gone. Like, it's not there. So the final piece of all of this is I find myself at a press conference out of the academy with the wall, the wall and I together. And so lucky enough that day, the media sent just the most wonderful bunch of women to cover that story. And the girls got it. And they all wrote great stories about opening up Victoria Police and letting talented, smart women in and shorter men and, a whole bunch of other people. And so they all went. And so I finally did start to see. And so I guess, in some ways it's about using your own power. It's about one of the reasons, women should, and when they get into positions of power, you can make that difference. And it was just so nice to say, we're doing it because I'm the Chief Commissioner.